when folks aren't being active and it turns into what could be considered a syndication, right? So if you have a partner that just puts their feet up on the couch, I provided a bunch of capital, so that's my portion of the JV. That's not your portion of the JV, right? You still need to be an active participant, and forking over money is not being an active participant.
Welcome. You're listening to the Apartment Investing Show. This is where you'll learn how to start or scale your apartment investing career. Your host, Adam Adams, has never lost an eating contest. He once ate 16 hamburgers in a single sitting. Adam and his guests will show you how to create residual income by investing in apartment communities. Now, here's your host, Adam AAA Adams.
And we're back with the Apartment Investing Show. My green screen wasn't working, so if anybody is watching, they see me naked without my actual. Now I just have a green screen, and it feels silly. I didn't feel good about what it was doing before, but that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about multifamily investing in apartments, and what's cool is that I've got Adam Barr on the show today. And what we're going to be talking a little bit about is how he's passive in one deal, active on a couple of multifamily deals, and also he even has a mobile home park too. Is that right? Mobile home?
Correct. Yep.
So it's a little over 300 doors, and he's been on all sides of it. Also, he is a proud father, and so he put that first in his bio, and I love it when people put that first in the bio. He's an Air Force veteran as well as a commercial real estate investor, and he is the co-owner of Active Duty Passive Income. They also call that ADPI, Active Duty Passive Income, where he helps to coach and mentor others who would like to get more passive income through multifamily investing. So, Adam, it's really good to have you on the show. It's going to get confusing because there's a lot of Adam Adamses. There's a lot of Adamses with
there's
Adam Adams
on there,
and Adam
yes.
Labar. It's good to have you. Number one question for you out of the first four questions that I want to ask is, why multifamily? Why apartments?
So that was a process, right? So I started looking at real estate after my wife told me that I should look at real estate. And as a good husband, I said, okay, I will ignore your advice and buy stocks. And I failed miserably at that. So I said, all right, honey, let's go look at real estate. So I kind of went through the whole gambit trying to figure out kind of where my goals were, where I wanted our passive income to be, where I wanted our family to be. And I realized, okay, well, I'm going to need a lot of doors to be able to get there. So eventually, just through education, research, I research a lot, I analyze a lot. I got to the point where I said, you know what, I need to do apartment buildings. So I got involved in apartments because I felt like that was the best route for me to get to where I wanted to be in a more efficient and safe manner.
Makes complete sense. I agree with you there. But I didn't have the same experience with my wife telling me to do it. I thought it was interesting that you said that you did what any good husband would do and ignore the advice the first time and get into stocks. But you said stocks didn't work out for you, huh?
So it didn't. And it didn't work out because I was trying to be a day trader while being, a full-time worker and husband and doing all of that. And I just didn't dedicate the time that I needed to actually do that portion of the portfolio. Had I dedicated as much time to that as I have to real estate, I'm sure it would have worked out a little bit better, but it just wasn't, I didn't have the passion for it that I wanted to, nor did I have the patience for it that I wanted, that I needed for it. And to clarify, my wife, when she found out that I was going to buy an apartment building, about fell off the couch because she was like, I was talking about like a single family house down the street for somebody to live in, because that's what her mom has. And then all of a sudden I was like, now we're going to buy an apartment building. So she wasn't quite sure what to think about that, but
Good
it
stuff.
worked out well.
So that first apartment building that you closed on, what actionable takeaways do you have for the listener that come from your very first multifamily deal?
I have takeaways that I'm still taking away from my very first multifamily deal. It was a 62-unit property that needed a lot of work. So it was a major rehab that I do not recommend necessarily. I mean, if you have the right team, you can do just about anything, but I don't recommend it necessarily for the faint at heart or first-time investor. because it was been a lot of problems. Contractors walking out, stuff not meeting the code after the contractor walked out. It took a long time to get people to finally get into the door because just the inspection process was horrendous. The construction process, waiting on hard money loans and doing all the draws. I mean, there was just so much involved in that first deal. It was difficult to kind of grasp what was happening, but I learned so much throughout that process. I mean, how to vet contractors better, how to make sure that you're bringing the city out more often as people are working on things, so they can kind of do pre-inspections before final inspections, so that the contractors are doing what they're supposed to be doing properly. Getting more bids on different things. We had 3 buildings, and we had a plan that was close one building down at a time as we're fully, we had to tear apart all the balconies and all these different things. So everybody just stopped paying when they saw what was happening. It's more of a D tenant in a C+ to B- area. So once we fixed the property up, it was great, but all of the tenants were just like, bump this, I'm out. And they just stopped paying. So it completely ruined all of our plans. We had zero income coming in from the property. So we learned a lot on process management and working with contractors better, and all of pretty much ran the gambit in the one property, which is, for the very first one, was good and bad all at the same time. So
what's 1 or 2 things that the listener can do to not get into that problem? Like, what are the actionable takeaways from what you learned that the listener can, now that they've heard your story, they don't have to go through the same thing?
First, I would say, especially if it's your first property, just build a really good team. Like, if you want to get into a deal like that, I would say the actionable thing is to attach yourself to a team that already has experience in that, so that you can learn how to do that process with somebody who already knows how to do it, rather than learning how to do it by yourself, which is kind of what we did. So, we have a couple people on the team that were single family fix and flip, which is a much shorter process, much easier to get through. And this was just, we had never done something like this to that scale. So I would definitely say learn from somebody who's already done it multiple times, or get on a team of somebody who's done it multiple times. Use that experience, use that guidance to kind of get you to where you need to be. Vet contractors, multiple contractors, have multiple bids at multiple times coming through. We had 2 people, which was not sufficient. We should have had multiple contractors, 3 or 4 walking the property at the same time, trying to get an understanding of what they're all doing, to really get through the different intricacies that are involved in a major rehab like that, so we can get a better understanding of where this property was going to go. So honestly, just being more and more and more involved, and understanding what your goals are. My goal wasn't to be as active as I have been in this particular property. So if you really like that aspect, then jump on it and go for it. But really understanding what your goals are, what your why is, what your whys are potentially, and help you focus that drive to the right property.
Part of what I'm hearing, Adam, is that what some people say about multifamily, that's how you get passive income. It's not as passive when you have to be the one operating the deal. So if you want passive income, you need to be a passive investor. You need to be somebody who is started off hands off. But when we buy even single families, but multifamilies even more, where we actually have to be in the trenches, we have to manage it, we have to manage the manager, we have to hire contractors. When you're on the general partnership, when you're the operator, it could be called residual income, but I think it would be a mistake to call it passive income.
That's true. Yeah, you're working hard for it, and that's something that we definitely push. Is anytime I talk to somebody about real estate, we say passive income, right? Because it's quote unquote mailbox money, right? You just walk out and go get it. But it took a lot of work to get to the point where you're able to just go out to the mailbox and pick up that check. And there's still processes and procedures that you're doing throughout that whole time anyway. So it's definitely more active than people would like to believe with the term passive income. Yeah. I like the concept of more residual than passive, right?
Got it. Love it. Thank you for going into that. What advice, what's your superpower? What is Adam LaBar's main gig? What can he do better than anyone else?
So I like to, I don't know if I would call it a superpower, but I suppose if I were to say anything that I do well is if I can see a problem, I can tackle it. I know who to talk to. I know who to go to. I know how to figure out where that end game is and how to get it accomplished. So once I get the right puzzle pieces in play, I have a harder time with the follow through. I get the right people in play. I understand what we need to do. I assign the tasks that need to be done, and then I can move on to the next task. That's just where my brain goes, is okay, it's on to the next thing. I'll let these guys finalize and wrap that up in a bow. So that's something I'm rather capable of doing. It's like, all right, we've got an issue. Okay, I'll tackle it. I've got no problem, handling things under pressure, getting through hard times. That's something I could definitely do very well without a problem.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I want to dive into a little bit of your story. Why did you start and co-found Active Duty Passive Income? Where did the idea come from? And after that, I'm very curious, what has it done for you in your business?
Okay, so Active Duty Passive Income was actually started by Mark Yunsich and Mike Foster. They were both Navy Academy grads. They were both interested in real estate. So I got brought on afterwards for the multifamily side of the house to help out. So it was when I came in, Eric Upchurch would have been added to that. So there's those three guys, and they were trying to get a little bit more involved in the multifamily real estate side of the house. And I was already full into the education side and ready to pull triggers on deals. I just hadn't done it yet. So I was kind of brought into the fold to kind of walk folks through how my story is going to go, like how it unfolds, and to show that if I'm able to do it, then the next guy can do it as well, right? So help teach as I'm going along and try to help people understand what I'm doing while it's happening. So it was like a fantastic business focused on, using your VA loan to work through things. And I got brought in to say, hey, let's look at multifamily, because it's definitely a spot for folks to go. Like the other guys were already interested in it. And I came through with a decent amount of knowledge, but it's like that guy coming right out of college that has a degree, but no experience. So that was me. I came in with all this knowledge, but no experience in it yet. So, for me, it got me motivated. It pushed me more forward. It said, well, if I'm going to show people how to do this, I really don't have a choice. Like I'm going to go do this, right? Give me an extra kick in the pants as well to kind of keep pushing forward and push myself out there a little bit more, which is also necessary in today's day and age to be out in public on like social media and different things, which I'm horrendous at. But ADPI has really helped me kind of push my face out there a little bit more than I ever used to too.
Cool. Good stuff. Want to ask you, in your experience, you're active. You're on the general partnership of 2 apartment buildings. You're passive on another one. Mm-hmm. But you've also went into mobile home park, right?
Yep.
So the question would be, if you had to pick just one, if you had to say, for the rest of my life, I'm only going to do X versus all 3 of them, what would you choose and why?
So for me, if I could only do one, it would be I would JV apartment buildings for the rest of my life. So the reason I'd want to JV apartments is I like apartments a little bit better than all the other asset classes. I know those better. I've got a stronger sense of what they're about than pretty much any of the other asset classes. I can wrap my brain around them a little bit better. So, and as far as JVing, I don't mind doing syndications. It's just there's a lot more behind the scenes work involved with that. There's a lot more, when you're dealing with a lot of investors and you go through that whole process. There's just a lot involved with that, and I like working in small teams. Being a military mindset guy, like a small team movement, small team actions is just kind of what I like to do. So if I can get a nice JV team, we all work together really well and just go out and smoke it. Or we have, maybe one passive investor on a syndication, that provides a lot of that, a lot of those funds. And that, to me, that would be the ultimate for the rest of my life, to be able to keep doing that.
Good stuff. I want to know why JV versus syndication. But before I can even ask you how come you choose to JV versus to syndicate and have a whole bunch of different passive investors, could you just share with the listener what is the difference between syndicating a deal and joint venturing a deal?
Okay. So with a JV, a joint venture, everybody is active, everybody's involved in the deal, everybody's making decisions. You usually want to keep it, there's no true rule to it, but if you're trying to avoid SEC concerns, like if you have like 5 or less people, you can usually justify having 5 is probably the max you'd really want in a JV. But you can usually kind of justify having that, right? Some people are going to be helping out with any construction efforts. Some people are going to be helping out with more the financial side of the house and making sure that all the budget stuff's taken care of, whatever the case may be, that everybody is involved in making decisions. And everybody's on, one LLC for the property. You're all taking care of it together. Syndication, there's passive investors and they're like the limited partners. And then there's the general partners that are, kind of operating the deal. So you've got the group of people that are operating it, a bunch of other people who have provided money to take down that property, and in return they get a cut of the deal, like a percentage of the income. So therethere's a lot more involved in the syndication side because you're interacting with a lot of investors. You're creating an investor network. You're able to take down a lot. Oftentimes, depending on who your JV partners are, take down a lot larger deals because you're syndicating multiple people, bringing in a bunch of different money. So it's easier to take down larger deals that way. But that's kind of the biggest differences between your JV and your syndication.
Okay, and have you done both? Have you done one JV and one syndication, or?
Yeah, so my first property was a JV, the 62 units, and then we've done a syndication, and we've done I guess technically another syndication with a family office. So they funded the entire thing. So they're the partner and the bank. So I've kind of run the gamut across those, and I've been a passive investor. So I've kind of dabbled in a bunch of the different varieties of buying properties.
Got it. And so how do you structure a joint venture? We talk a lot about just owning your own multifamily. You do everything from beginning to end. We talk a ton about syndication because that's what I do. Mm-hmm. But since we don't get a lot of people on that really are advocating for the JVs, can you walk us through the process of who would find the deal, how you'd find the deal, how you'd structure the deal, who might operate what, how long you plan on holding a deal that is a joint venture? Just kind of give us the ins and outs of JV.
Okay. That could be a podcast in and of itself for sure. So the JV structure is really dependent on the partners in the deal, right? Whoever the joint partners are. So like in the first property that I bought, so we have two guys that are boots on the ground, right? I travel around all over the place. I have a hard time being a boots on the ground person. So I rely on a very trusted partner to be boots on the ground. So they get a couple extra percentage points of the property for being the boots on the ground folks who are interacting more with contractors, who are interacting more with the property management team, who are doing a little bit more of the grunt work on the ground. And you can kind of structure them however you guys see fit. Like if one person is really good at the numbers and the more left brain analytical, they're going through the numbers all the time. They want to make sure the books are all correct. They're doing all the stuff. So maybe that's the target for them as they stay focused on those type of tasks for the property, and they're checking in with numbers with the property management team. They're making sure that all of the everything's lining up properly for any rehabs or turns, and analyzing all the books and all that type of stuff. While another person is like always going out and talking to contractors and building more networks and doing whatever. So percentage wise, like percentage of ownership, you guys can divvy that up however you really see fit. So if as long as everybody's still staying active, you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And so like I said, with boots on the ground folks, I would always give them a little bit more. They've got a lot more on their plates. If they're sitting there at the property, they're seeing the property more, they're involved more that way, especially with something like my first property where there was a lot of rehab involved. That's a lot more intensive work. So they deserve to be compensated for that. So that's one of the things I love about JVing is you can do the same thing with syndication. You kind of structure it however you want to, but there's still a general partner and a limited partner, where in the JV, everybody's a partner and everybody's active. You just kind of get to play around with it a little bit more and make it tweak for how you want it. And, you mentioned like, how long do you hold it? Right. So that's another thing is, you want to make sure that you have a partner or partners that line up well with you mentally. Like you guys have the same ideas, you have the same game plans, you have the same understanding of where you want a property to go, how long you want to hold an asset for. Like, are you, I always want to buy real estate, never want to sell real estate. If you guys are both on that same mindset, then that's fine. You hold it for as long as you want. If the thought process is, no, I really I only want to hold these for, 5 to 7 years, make big turns on them and then pull all that equity out and put it somewhere else, then, again, have those conversations. So date that person for a little while, if you will, understand what their motivations are, what their goals are, where they want to go with this relationship, and then go buy a property, then go get married, right? So that way you guys kind of understand the goals and where you want that property to go. So it's all about the partnership and what you guys want as a team.
That's all very valuable information on what to look for with a JV, how to do a JV. And you even shared a couple of hidden gotchas, a couple of things that could go wrong and how to fix them. But I'd like to ask you if there's any other hidden gotchas where the listener who's never done a JV, they're listening, they're excited, you really convinced them that this is the way to go. They're not going to syndicate. They're not going to own on their own. What would they really need to look out for to make sure that they are protecting themselves as they're dating and then getting married with their partners?
So with a partner, it's like any relationship, right? You want to really understand who that person is, who they are, what their motives and intentions are, right? Kind of like maybe if they have a significant other, get to know their significant other, kind of have an understanding how they act, how they interact with other people, go out to dinner with them, like get to know who these people are, right? There's a lot of really good partnerships that have been formed since high school, right? Like you've known each other for years, you guys have lived in the same spot for a long time. So you already know the ins and outs of those people and understand who they are. So it's hard to just kind of get up and go with one person. We did it with the 62 unit. We didn't know each other extremely well, and thus far it's worked out pretty well. But we did have a very quick dating phase, right, where we kind of understood what our goals were, where we're trying to go. So there's definitely some gotchas in just that relationship portion. And another gotcha that happens in JVs is when you start to not be as active, when folks aren't being active, and it turns into what could be considered a syndication, right? So if you have a partner that just puts their feet up on the couch, I provided a bunch of capital, so that's my portion of the JV. And that's not your portion of the JV, right? You still need to be an active participant, and forking over money is not being an active participant. So if the SEC wants to get involved or see something, or something goes south and somebody complains about it, then all of a sudden your JV is going to be looked at, and they're going to say, no, this was a illegal syndication, and you weren't doing what you're supposed to be doing properly. So that's something that gets people in trouble if they're not paying attention, which is why, again, if you have in the LLC, which another gotcha, have it all written out. Have everything written out. These are Adam's jobs. This is Jim's job. This is Joe's job. And then it's all written out. These are the percentage. This is where it's at. So that if anybody comes back and says, oh, I was passive. Well, no, right here in the LLC, your job is to do this. Because you aren't doing it, that's a different story. But this is your job. These are your tasks. So make sure that the LLCs are written well. Not something that you just printed off the internet, that you Googled and found something. Go to a lawyer, get it done right, make sure that everybody understands what's going on. Just like when you get married, you sign a contract, right? It's just, with the government's name on the top, you're going to do the same thing with an LLC when you're going through a JV. So sign the contract, make sure it's all kosher and everybody understands what their roles are.
Good stuff. I can't wait to get into the final five with you, Adam. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
What's Blue Spruce Boardroom? It's Adam Adams' private inner circle program that helps serious investors take their businesses to the next level with 24/7 access to our private Facebook community, exclusive mastermind retreats held at luxurious resorts around the country, bi-weekly coaching calls, education, support, and monthly meetings. This is the full immersion you need in order to get from where you are to where you want to be in your real estate business. When you join Blue Spruce Boardroom, you'll become close with Adam and the other members of this exclusive inner circle. You'll meet accredited investors, deal sponsors, high net worth key principals, as well as real estate influencers. The perfect combination for you to take your business to the next level. Apply today by following the link in the show notes.
And we're back with Mr. Adam Barr. What's a book you recommend?
Secret to the Millionaire Mind would be one of the ones that I highly, highly recommend.
What is your absolute biggest win, but of the week?
Oof, my biggest win of the week, finally getting the pool open and being able to swim with my kiddos.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is a challenge that you've recently overcome within your multifamily business?
Boy, I'd say that COVID was probably one of the biggest challenges that we can all, depending on when this comes out, speak about. And it's been a huge challenge to overcome across all of the multifamily properties.
Awesome. The next two questions are you giving advice to the listener. But the first question is for a brand new listener, never done multifamily in their life. They'd like to, they're excited about it. What is the one thing that you would give to a new listener to help them get started in multifamily?
Boy, I would say get involved with a like-minded community of individuals to really, when you're around all those like-minded people, you can't help but continue to build your interest and pique your interest in that stuff, and then understand what they're doing so that you understand what you're going to be doing. But like, surround yourself by people who are smarter than you and more experienced than you in whatever way you can.
And now this last question is meant for a listener who you know is crushing it. They're already doing it. They've closed on a few deals. They know what they're doing. But what is the one thing that you would share with an experienced listener to be able to take it to the next level?
Boy, I think it's funny enough. I think this can almost be the same answer, right? It's time to, you are the 5 people that you're hanging around with most, right? And you're going to get to that point where, as I'm teaching people how to do real estate, I always tell other folks, like, my goal is to have them outgrow me, right? Like, you need to go on to a different group of people. So if you want to accelerate, you need to find a better mastermind, a better group of 5 people, not to get rid of the other 5 people you've been hanging around, but you just need to level yourself up, be the dumbest person in the room, be the poorest person in the room, so that you can learn from all of those people that are already where you want to be.
Great advice. Thank you for going into that. Now, the last thing that I wanted to find out is how the listener can find you or get a hold of you. And some of my other guests who come onto the show, they try to give me 5 social media links. That's not what I'm asking for. What is the single best way for the listener to find you and get a hold of you?
You can email me, adam@activedutypassiveincome.com. I'm on my email constantly, so easy enough.
Great. Adam@activedutypassiveincome.com. And I know they can also go and find that on Facebook as well, or just go to the link. But give them an email. Thank you, Adam. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go, but until next time, think outside the box. As a reminder, any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are for accredited investors only. And if you're interested in working with me and my team, then go to realbluespruce.com and click Get on the List. It's that simple. Just click Get on the List to start passively investing. This has been an episode of the Apartment Investing Show with me, Adam Adams. All rights are reserved. And if you haven't done so already, then make sure that you absolutely smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode.